Groceries are extremely expensive right now.
I don't understand how people are affording life right now.
For so many Americans, the high cost of living is their top concern this election.
Rach, we have $435 to last us till the end of the month. Okay?
What?
In Philadelphia, Rachel and Garrett say they have to watch every penny.
When I think of middle class, I think about people who are able to just get up and go and do things within their means and like not extravagant things, but be able to get up and go to dinner whenever they want, or maybe take that trip, that long weekend trip. We don't have that luxury.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
What's going on, guys? We got to talk about Oprah Winfrey's Unite for America event, where it's a glorified promotion for Kamala Harris's campaign. It's to get out and vote for joy in high prices and open borders in World War III. Now, before we get too deep into it, I want to show you guys the truth about Oprah Winfrey, because apparently she was basically best friends with Donald Trump back in the day. Just a reminder for those who are on maybe the younger side and are not familiar with this, or if you just didn't pay attention at the time, because Oprah was friends with a lot of people. These two were pretty tight before.
You have a vice presidential candidate in mind?
Well, I really haven't gotten quite there yet.
I guess it's just
Oprah. I love Oprah. Oprah would always be my first choice.
Oprah.
Oprah, your competitor, right?
Oprah's a competitor.
You know what?
No
I'll tell you, she's really a great woman, though. She is a terrific woman. She's somebody that's very special.
That you might think
if
about.
she'd do it, she'd be fantastic. I mean, she's popular. She's brilliant. She's a wonderful woman. I mean, if she'd ever do it, I don't know that she'd ever do it. She's got.
You'd ask her.
She'd be sort of like me. I mean, I have a lot of things going. She's got a lot of things going.
What a ticket
in terms
that
of that would be a pretty good ticket. But she's a very exceptional woman.
Now, what changed? I would say the fake news changed, because obviously Oprah isn't exactly talking to Donald Trump about anything these days. She's just assuming that everything bad that she's hearing about a person that she has literally met and spent time with in the past, everything she's hearing must be true, because she's done her research, okay? She watches the news for 30 minutes every night, so she is therefore an expert. She watches MSDNC. So at this event, they had celebrity on top of celebrity. They had Julia Roberts. They had Ben Stiller, who they punked Ben Stiller, by the way. They treated Julia Roberts fantastically, but Ben Stiller, they made him look like a little pussy, which is exactly how they want to treat men in Kamala's America.
You know, I have a 22-year-old daughter, 19-year-old son who's going to be voting in his first election. My daughter's, her reproductive rights are incredibly important. Standing up for.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
And I think
standing up for,
I think what Chris.
And I want people to say, "Oh, you're American," and not, "Oh, how's it going over there?"
Yes.
So I want to get back to that space.
Exactly.
Just cut him off, had him looking stupid. Got Julia Roberts over here talking about how she wants to not be looked at sideways when you go to another country. Well, Julia, who is leading America now, is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And Joe Biden pretty much at the beach all the time. So it's really Kamala Harris. So if people are looking at you sideways, what does that got to say about the people that's running the country today?
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been, Now
we got to talk about the prices and the word salad, because a lot of people are saying that they couldn't afford groceries. They were saying they couldn't afford houses. And Kamala Harris gave the stupidest, most ridiculous answers that anyone has ever seen.
I'm 24 years old. I'm a graduate student living with my parents, and I want to move out next year and potentially buy a home. And I'm concerned about the affordability of one with the extra costs and bills that I'm paying now, along with the bills and costs I will pay in the future too. And so everything just has a cost, and everything is so expensive. And so I'm worried about my capacity and how I'm able to fully support myself once I do live independently.
It is your story and the story of our friends before you is really, that's the American story, right? You are working hard, you have goals, you have ambitions. And so part of it is, again, the $25,000 down payment assistance. Part of it is what we need to do to also push back against a very different vision for our country. Because look, in this election, there are two very different visions for our country. So when you think about the cost of living, my approach is about lifting you up. His would be about actually weakening our economy. And I feel very strongly when an individual, when a small business, when a family, when the middle class is strong, America is strong.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Thank you, Shelby.
Just yakety yak, yak yak, a whole bunch of nothing. Nothing about how she's actually going to reduce prices. Something, something, opportunity economy, something, something, child tax credit, something, something, first-time home buyers. We're going to increase that amount. She's talking about basically giving out more money, but she's not talking about actually lowering any costs, which effectively, like, what if you're not trying to buy a house? What if you just want groceries? And what the hell does the child tax credit do? You have to be able to buy your child food and shelter and clothes today. A tax credit is something you get back later. That's like a rebate. And who knows what type of rules and regulations and stipulations and complications they're going to put on that.
So, Madam Vice President, we are, like many, many young Americans, just experiencing a very high cost of living. We ended up giving up our apartment, moving in with our parents, who were so gracious to take us in for over a year so that we could save money and ultimately buy a home, because that's what we thought the American dream was, to get married and buy a home and have a baby. And now here we are, and our mortgage is incredibly higher than what we thought it would be. And my sister and our brother-in-law are living with us right now so that they can hopefully one day do the same. And while it's beneficial for us because they help us pay off some of our mortgage, it's also beneficial for them because they can save on cheaper rent. But we really would love to know what your plan is to help lower the cost of living.
Yeah, first of all, thank you both for being here. And yours is a story I hear around the country as I travel. And in terms of both rightly having the right to have aspirations and dreams and ambitions for your family, and working hard and finding that the American dream is, for this generation and so many recently, far more elusive than it's been. And we need to deal with that. And there are a number of ways. One is bringing down the cost of everyday necessities, including groceries. So that's why I'm taking on, for example, price gouging, which is when, most companies and corporations are good, but for those bad ones, they take advantage of people, especially during a pandemic or extreme weather, and they end up jacking up prices, and there needs to be accountability and consequence for that. So I'm going to be taking on price gouging. But it's also about dealing with what we need to do around home ownership, right? So as someone mentioned during this film, look, I grew up a child of a mother who worked very hard. She raised me and my sister, and she saved up, and by the time I was a teenager, she was able to buy a home, which is why part of my plan is for first-time homeowners, buyers, to have a $25,000 down payment assistance to buy your first home. Because people just need to be able to get their foot in the door, and then you'll do the hard work. Part of my plan is what we need to do to support small businesses, because my second mother was a small business owner, and I love our small businesses.
Same thing for this whole first-time home buyer stuff. Who's going to qualify for this? Because you know how the Democrats love to operate. They love to pretend like they're offering something, but they make it damn near impossible for anybody to qualify for it. On one hand, too few people will qualify for it. On another hand, if you make it too many, then it devalues getting it in the first place. So yeah, you would have to strike a nice middle ground, and Democrats historically have never been able to do that. And I like the fact that she's talking about first-time home buyers. Meanwhile, these people are complaining, saying that the price of their mortgage is already too high. What are you going to do about these interest rates? What are you going to do about the prices of housing in general? The more money you give, the more the prices are just going to go up. What we really need to know is how you're going to reduce the price of groceries, energy, rent, and overall housing prices, and not just giving more money for house. Like, that increases inflation. You can't just give more money. And plenty of people have already debunked the whole price gouging thing in regards to that actually helping. It's already been done before in the 70s. It was a disaster, and it's completely obliterated the markets of other countries. These ridiculous price controls make it where companies can't even make any money. And if they can't make any money, then they have to be very selective in regard to their output. If they can only output a certain amount because it's so expensive for them, then that means that there is shortages, which will be an even bigger problem, which will inevitably drive up prices, one, even more, or two, just drive companies out of the United States market entirely. Also find it hilarious that she tries to play Mrs. Tough Gal in regard to this whole gun situation. Now she wants to talk about how she owns a gun and how Tim Walz has a gun and somebody's gonna get shot if they come in her house.
I'm a gun owner. Tim Walz is a gun.
I did not know that.
If somebody breaks in my house, they're getting shot.
Yes, yes, I hear that. I hear that.
Probably should not have said that.
But
my staff will deal with that later.
Flashback.
You know, these stand your ground laws and these states that have these citizen arrest laws have often and frequently been used as an excuse, if not a cover, for people who are motivated by racism and racial profiling.
This is gun buyback in chief. This is gun confiscator in chief, Kamala Harris, because she said probably the most radical things about guns that I've ever heard an American say.
Responsible behaviors among everybody in the community, and just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible and safe in the way you conduct your affair.
What would you do about the millions of, specifically, assault weapons that are already in circulation? What do you do about those?
Well, there are approximately 5 million, to your point, Craig. We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program. It's got to be smart. We got to do it the right way.
And all of this is without getting too deep into her ridiculous word salads that she just can't seem to compose some sort of concise answer for anything. Like, what the hell is wrong with this lady?
When you become president, what would be your specific steps? Yeah, of course. What would be specific steps to strengthening the border?
So it's a wonderful and important question. You know, my background was as a prosecutor, and I was also the elected attorney general.
The Almighty says, don't change the subject, just answer the fucking question.
I have prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings.
2,000 years later.
Let's address the needs, because we know it's within our capacity to do that.
So to answer Justin's question, now that that bill has gone and hasn't passed, will you reintroduce that?
Absolutely, and when I am elected president of the United States, I will make sure that bill gets to my desk and I will sign it into law. We love our country. I love our country. I know we all do. That's why everybody's here right now. We love our country. We take pride in the privilege of being American, which is we are an optimistic people. We are an optimistic people. Americans, by character, are people who have dreams and ambitions and aspirations. We believe in what is possible. We believe in what can be. And we believe in fighting for that.
What?
That's how we came into being, because the people before us understood that one of the greatest expressions.
Guys, gals, joy is not enough, okay? I need to know how we're gonna be able to afford anything, okay? And I think that's what a lot of Americans are thinking about. Like, you really have to question the intelligence of a lot of people if you can't afford rent. You can't afford to get a house. You can't afford groceries. In some cases, some people can't afford to feed their pets. And they're starving, their pets starving, or they're starving themselves so they can feed their pets. Same thing for their kids. And then you're considering voting for the woman who's in office already, who's responsible for this? That's just complete foolishness. I can't wrap my head around it. I can't like devolve my brain enough to understand the level of emotional decision making and irrationality that's involved in this type of decision. I can't be Trump deranged enough. Y'all know there was a point where I did not like Trump. At 2016, before he ran the nation, I didn't like him. And kind of in a similar story to J.D. Vance, I changed my mind. I saw the way the country was going. I was like, hey, man, Trump, like this dude is kind of based, right? But now you got some clowns with the big old clown nose on their nose running the country. And you got people who want more of that or think it's somehow going to be different because Kamala's going to go from vice president to president. Absolute foolishness, complete nonsense. These people are pretty much brain dead. They pretty much got brain damage. The TDS is too strong, okay? TDS is unbeatable. Well, that's where they're wrong. TDS is beatable, and we're going to beat them this November. Be sure to get out and vote. Register other people to vote if they're not registered to vote, but they want to do something. You got to, they got to, be down bad if their grocery price is too damn high and they complaining. The first thing you need to ask them, like, hey, are you registered to vote? You voting Trump? Like, be sure to ask people, impress them a little bit, be like, hey, look, I ain't trying to hear all these complaints if you ain't voting Trump. Like, you just got to just cut them off at the knees. Be like, look, if your price is too damn high, you complaining all the damn time, complaining every damn day, and you talking about voting for Kamala or not voting at all, I ain't trying to hear it. Get out and vote. Otherwise, shut the hell up. Those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I appreciate you watching the Black and Emily Rising channel. I'm out.
On the way here, when I was coming through the airport, black man stopped me and he said, I guess he knew I was coming here for something like this. And he goes, well, I'm just tell you, I'm voting for Trump.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.